The paper hit the polished marble floor in 3 torn pieces, and for a moment, nobody in the crowded corporate lobby moved. Marcus Bellamy, a tired single father in a carefully pressed charcoal suit that had clearly seen better days, stared at the shredded remains of the only job application he had filled out that morning. His fingers tightened around the strap of his worn leather briefcase while dozens of employees and executives watched in uncomfortable silence. The woman standing before him, Celeste Harrow, the company's senior hiring director, had just dismissed him with the cold certainty of someone who had never worried about whether the next paycheck would pay for groceries. She had looked at his modest resume, noticed the gap in his employment history, and decided that a man who had spent the last 4 years raising his young daughter after his wife's death was not worthy of a place inside her company. But Celeste did not know what Marcus had been forced to sacrifice, and she certainly did not know why the name at the bottom of his resume was about to shake the entire building. Before we go further, if you believe kindness can change a life, that people deserve second chances, and that a struggling parent should never be judged by appearances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the Heart of a Dad channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the person standing quietly in front of us is carrying a battle we cannot see. Marcus had arrived at the headquarters just after 9 in the morning, holding his resume in one hand and a small photograph of his daughter, Tessa, tucked inside his wallet. Tessa was 8 years old, bright, curious, and the reason Marcus had learned how to braid hair, pack lunches, check homework, and stay strong even when his own heart felt completely broken. After losing his wife, Maribel, Marcus had walked away from a promising career in corporate finance because there had been nobody else to take care of Tessa. He had taken temporary accounting work, delivered packages on weekends, repaired computers for neighbors, and stretched every dollar until it nearly screamed. Now, after years of surviving rather than living, he had finally applied for a senior financial analyst position at one of the largest technology companies in the country, hoping it would give his daughter something he could not give her before: stability. He had prepared for the interview for 3 weeks. His suit had been borrowed from a friend. His shoes had been polished until they looked almost new. He had even practiced answering difficult questions at the kitchen table after Tessa went to school. But when Celeste saw his resume, her expression changed. The employment gap was obvious. Marcus tried to explain that he had been caring for his daughter after his wife passed away, but Celeste barely listened. She questioned whether he could handle the pressure of a major corporation and implied that someone who had stepped away from the business world could not possibly compete with younger candidates who had remained on the career ladder. Then, in front of everyone, she tore the application apart. Marcus did not argue. That was what made the moment so painful. He simply bent down, collected the torn pages, and carefully placed them inside his briefcase. His eyes were wet, but he refused to let the tears fall. He remembered something his daughter had told him that morning while tying a ribbon around his wrist as a good luck charm. She had said that being rejected did not mean he was a failure, it only meant the right door had not opened yet. Marcus carried those words inside him as he walked toward the exit. Then the private elevator opened. A tall man in his early 60s stepped into the lobby with 2 executives beside him. His name was Everett Callahan, the company's chairman, a respected businessman whose signature had appeared on some of the largest acquisitions in the industry. But the moment Everett saw Marcus, his entire expression changed. He stopped walking. His eyes moved from Marcus to the torn papers in his hand, then to Celeste. Nobody understood what was happening. Everett walked directly toward Marcus and asked to see the application. Marcus hesitated before handing him the damaged pages. Everett carefully unfolded them and read the resume. His face became increasingly serious. He reached the section describing Marcus's previous employment and suddenly looked up. The company's CEO, Sloane Whitaker, had just stepped out of the elevator behind him. She was a woman known for her calm judgment and extraordinary attention to detail. She noticed Everett's expression and immediately came closer. After reading the resume herself, she asked Marcus about a financial restructuring project listed from years earlier. Marcus explained the project in precise detail, remembering figures and decisions that most executives would have forgotten. Sloan exchanged a glance with Everett. That project had saved another company from bankruptcy. But Marcus had left before receiving the recognition. Everett then revealed something nobody in the lobby expected. Years earlier, he had secretly hired an outside financial consultant to investigate a major corporate crisis. The consultant had been Marcus Bellamy. Marcus had identified millions of dollars in hidden losses and designed the recovery strategy that kept the company alive. He had been offered a promotion afterward, but his wife's illness had worsened, and he had declined it to care for his family. Everett had never forgotten him. Sloan looked at the torn application again, then at Celeste. The lobby had become so quiet that even the soft hum of the elevators seemed loud. She asked one simple question that made every executive in the room freeze: who fired the chairman? Celeste stared at her, confused. Sloan explained that Everett had personally requested Marcus be considered for the position. Marcus had not been an unqualified applicant who wandered into the wrong building. He was the financial mind Everett had trusted years earlier, the person whose work had helped protect millions of dollars, and the father who had sacrificed his career for his child. Celeste's face lost its confidence. But Sloan was not finished. She asked Marcus why he had not mentioned any of this during the application process. Marcus looked down and quietly explained that he had not come there expecting special treatment. He only wanted an opportunity to prove that the years he spent caring for his daughter had not erased everything he knew. He said he was not ashamed of being a father, and he was not ashamed of the years he had spent putting his child first. Those words struck the room harder than any angry speech could have. Sloan offered Marcus an immediate opportunity to meet with the executive finance team. Not because she felt sorry for him, but because she wanted to see what he could still do. Marcus accepted. During the meeting, he examined a complicated financial report that had troubled the company for months. Within 20 minutes, he identified an overlooked pattern that suggested millions of dollars were being lost through an inefficient supplier contract. The executives checked his calculations. He was right. The contract was renegotiated, and the company projected savings that could reach tens of millions of dollars over the next several years. By lunchtime, Marcus had received a job offer. But what happened next mattered even more. Sloan asked Marcus whether he needed flexible hours because of Tessa. Marcus admitted that childcare had always been one of his greatest challenges. Instead of treating that as a weakness, Sloan introduced a new family support policy for employees with caregiving responsibilities. She told Marcus that the company had spent years demanding loyalty from employees while forgetting that employees had families waiting for them at home. Celeste was removed from the hiring department pending an internal review. Yet Marcus did not celebrate her humiliation. When asked whether he wanted her fired, he simply said that he wanted her to understand what she had done and learn from it. His response surprised everyone. Several weeks later, Marcus arrived at the office wearing the same charcoal suit, but this time his posture was different. He was no longer walking through the lobby hoping someone would give him a chance. He belonged there. On his desk sat a framed photograph of Tessa, smiling proudly beside him. That afternoon, Sloan stopped by his office and found Marcus helping a young employee prepare for an interview. He was teaching the man not to apologize for having struggled, not to hide his responsibilities, and never to confuse a difficult chapter with the end of his story. Marcus eventually became one of the company's most trusted financial leaders. But the accomplishment he valued most was not the promotion, the salary, or the recognition. It was the fact that every evening he could walk through his front door and tell Tessa that he had kept going. Years later, when Tessa was old enough to understand what had happened, Marcus showed her the 3 torn pieces of his original application. He had kept them all those years. She asked why he had never thrown them away. Marcus smiled and told her that sometimes a torn piece of paper can become a reminder that rejection is not always the end of a story. Sometimes it is the moment before someone finally sees your worth. And perhaps that is the lesson hidden inside Marcus's story. Never judge someone by the clothes they wear, the gap on their resume, the mistakes in their past, or the quietness in their voice. You never know how many battles they fought just to stand in front of you. The person you overlook today could be the person who changes everything tomorrow. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to our channel so more stories about kindness, courage, forgiveness, and second chances can reach people who need them. And before you leave, comment "second chances" if you believe everyone deserves an opportunity to prove their worth. Your comment may be exactly the encouragement another struggling parent needs to keep going. Because sometimes, the most powerful comeback begins with nothing more than a torn piece of paper, a child waiting at home, and one person brave enough to say, "Look again."